These free effective communication skills training course videos brought to you by communication expert keynote speaker Dan O'Connor.
And our difficult person of the week is the time sucker.
Oh no, I hear them coming. Oh no, here they come, here they come.
Hi, do you have a minute?
We have to remember one of the principles that we discussed at the beginning of these lessons was, if we don't manage our time, someone else will manage it for us. And many times what happens is we have time suckers in our lives that suck the time out of us. You know, we'll see them coming down the hallway at work and we dread them stopping by our office because we know that they're going to stop in and 20 minutes later leave, and they will have sucked 20 minutes out of our day, which actually translates into much more than 20 minutes. So how do we start to control the time sucker? First of all, we have to remember that the first time somebody sucks 20 minutes out of our day, that is about them. The 10th time they do it, that is about us. We are in control of our own schedule. So if you have a time sucker in your life, here's the strategy that you can use to start regaining control over the time that they have taken from you. All right? Step number 1. We have to lay the groundwork for a time sucker and tell them, hey, you know what? I'm going to start managing my time more efficiently than I have in the past. And you can do that using the AEIOU script. Remember the AEIOU script we discussed in a previous lesson? That's the script where you say, here's what the actions are that are unacceptable. E are the effects of those actions. I is what I am asking of you right now. O is the or else, and U is what you will get. So I want to stop and talk to the time sucker and let them know, hey, I'm implementing a new strategy in my life. And I might use the AEIOU script. If I did, it would go something like this. Hey, Mary, I need your help. A, I found that, I'm going to focus on me. I have found that I have not been managing my time as efficiently as I could. E, therefore, I'm not getting as much work done as I could, and I'm starting to fall behind in my work. I'm going to start implementing a new time management system, and I'm going to ask you to help me implement that. O, or else, unfortunately, I'm not going to have time to visit with you, and I really enjoy that. But if I'm not getting my work done, then I won't be able to visit not just with you, with anybody. U, and if you do help me implement it, when you and I visit, I'll be able to focus more on what you're saying rather than the work that I'm not getting done. And then the closing line, can I count on you to help me use this new system? And they'll say, sure, what new system is that? And you're going to say, step 2 now. So step 1 is to let the time sucker know I am implementing a new system. Step 2 is to implement the system, and what I'm going to give you this week is revolutionary and simple. In fact, it's revolutionary in its simplicity. The people that I know who have implemented this tool have found night and day differences overnight. Wow, that was neat. The bell rang when I snapped my fingers. It is called the Availability Monitor. The Availability Monitor is a simple tool that you can make yourself. You can, what some people have done is, you know what, those Brazilian steakhouses, if you've ever gone to them, you'll get this thing on your table that looks like an hourglass, and on one side it's red, on the other side it's green. Some people have used one of those. They'll put them on their desk and they'll turn it one way or another to signal if they are available or not. If the green side is up, that means you are available. If the red side is up, that means you're not. However, not everybody has access to a Brazilian steakhouse tool like that. So if you don't, what I recommend you do is create an availability monitor, either using your printer or simple construction paper. This will be a fun project for home. And you can simply make one sign that says availability monitor. And then you take a piece of yarn or a piece of string or a shoestring or whatever you have, and you make a symbol. On one side, it's red and it says unavailable. On the other side, it's green and it says available. And you hang that on your wall someplace close to you, whether it's in your cubicle or if it's simply someplace on your desk that you can hang it, if it's on a wall, wherever it may be, have that visible where you can reach it. That's your availability monitor. Very simple, but when implemented, very effective. What you want to do is teach everybody in your life, take a moment to tell them the AEIOU script, as I mentioned before, take all the responsibility on yourself and say, you know, I have not been managing my time as well as I could have. So here's what I'm going to do about it. Because it really isn't about, hey, you guys keep sucking the time from me and interrupting me all day, so here's what I'm gonna do about it. That's not it. It's I have let you. So you want to tell people, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this availability monitor to keep myself in check. So when I have scheduled time where I am available to be interrupted, I'm going to have it green. When I have scheduled time that I have to be working and focusing on a specific project, I'm going to make it red. So if you come into my office or if you call me and I don't give you attention, please forgive me if it appears as though I'm being rude. I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to take control over my professional schedule. So please help me do that. And if you come into my office and it's red, remember to come back later on and check to see if it's green. If, for example, you come into my office and you ask me a question and you say, hey, do you have a moment? And I do not respond to you, check my availability monitor, because that will explain to you why I might not be responding to you. I want to really focus on my own time management. And what will happen is the time sucker will come into your office and say, hey, do you have a second? And you won't respond to them if your availability monitor is on red. And if they say, hey, Dan, it's just one quick thing. As long as you have your availability monitor set to red, meaning do not disturb, unavailable, all you have to do is keep working, and tap that availability monitor on the wall or tap it on your desk and keep working. And what you will find is some people will be like, huh, all right, and might take offense to that. Of course, if it's my boss coming in and they say, I need a moment of your time, I'm not going to tap my availability monitor and not give it to him or her. I'm going to say, yes, what do you need? But for the time sucker, I have already told you the message. I've already sent you the message. I need help. I've told you the system, and I've asked you to abide by the rules. So if you come into my office the next time and that is set to red, and now you have to use your availability monitor, but if it's set to red and you start talking, it is not rude for me to tap it and ignore you. It is not rude for me to point at it on the wall and ignore you. I'm simply following the rules that I have set in my life. And if I don't follow the rules, I cannot expect other people to do so. And again, some people are going to have trouble doing this and they'll say, I can't do that. That's just too rude. That's not rude. What's rude is to allow somebody to steal your time and productivity away from you. That's disrespectful to yourself. That's being rude to yourself. You know, I have a sister-in-law. Her name is Michelle. She has no problem when you call her up or go in her office and say, hey, Michelle, do you have a second? She has no problem saying, no, I don't. I'm working. I'm busy. And you know how some people are more aggressive that way and some of us are more passive? There is a middle ground. And when you, number one, set expectations and tell people about the new system you're implementing, and then number two, implement that system, you will find dramatic changes overnight simply because you've decided to take control of your own schedule. Another way, by the way, professional tip that we can start managing our own professional schedule is not being a slave to our emails and our cell phones. If it is possible for you to set an autoresponder on your emails that says something along the lines of, thank you for your email, I got it, and I will be responding to emails between 9 and 10 in the morning and 3 to 4 in the afternoon, so please expect a response then. If this is an emergency situation, feel free to call me at this number, or expect to hear from me at the times I indicated. If you can start telling people, I check and respond to emails during these hours of the day, and then stick to that schedule, people won't expect you to always be interrupting your day and responding to emails, because emails are one of the top things that actually takes us away from our job and decreases production, because so many of us believe that we're a slave to them. And when we hear that little bing or when we see something pop up on the screen saying we have a new email, we feel the need to immediately check it and respond, which takes us away from our work, not just at that moment. But what happens is our brains are focused on a project and they have a certain pattern going. When we stop to check an email or answer a call or whatever else is interrupting us, that lowers that brain wave frequency way down. And it takes us time after we finish that project to move it back up and then get back in sync where we were a few minutes ago before the interruption. So it's not just the couple of minutes that it takes to answer an email or answer a phone call. It's much, much more than that actually is sucked out of our day by answering phone calls or answering emails. And so if you can set a schedule for yourself and notify other people that, hey, this is going to be my new schedule so that I can be more productive and actually serve you better. I'm going to be answering and responding to emails and phone calls if you can during certain times of the day. And then do that. You will find that the time that you have set aside for uninterrupted focused work will produce 10 times the results than you have been producing in the past if you have been allowing yourself to be interrupted all day. Now, of course, not all of us can do this, and I realize that some of us By definition, our job requires us to be checking emails and phone calls all day long. If you can, however, set a schedule again and do those things, those interruption type things, during specific times of the day, letting people know in advance, this is my new action plan, you will find that the little tiny distractions during the day, not just from the time suckers, but from emails, from phone calls, will stop distracting you and your productivity will shoot through the roof. Sometimes very simple strategies like these get extraordinary results when we choose to implement them. So that's the key. Any strategy that you can implement this week, from the availability monitor to an email strategy or to a phone call strategy, implement those strategies this week. Let people that you work with know that you're implementing some new time management strategies. You won't believe the difference it will make, not only in your productivity, but in your personal sense of well-being and personal power. And now we've come to our communication principle of the week.
Communication principle of the week.
This week's communication principle is, when we focus on substance, form takes shape naturally. And what we're talking about when we focus on that this week is, we tend to focus a lot in these communication lessons on the words. When I'm sending you a message, the form is the words that I'm sending, the shape that my message is taking. However, the substance is where it's coming from. Who am I when I'm delivering this message? And many times when we're dealing, for example, with difficult people, we worry a lot about, what am I going to say to make them understand? What am I going to say to change their behavior? What am I going to say to let them know how they hurt me? Or whatever it may be that you're struggling with communicating, if we instead focus on who is the person, me, who is delivering this message, and what is my true intention, which most of the time comes down to, my true intention is to be a more loving, peaceful person. And if that is my true intention, and I focus on that, the words, whether I use complicated words or simple words or fancy verbal patterns or no verbal patterns or stumble over them or say them eloquently, whatever it may be, it won't matter as much, because the substance is going to be so pure that the form takes shape much more naturally and easily when we are focusing on the substance rather than the form. So this week I'd like you to focus on that, along with our verbal strategies and eliminating some phrases and adding some phrases, because if I were to buy a gold ring, for example, and I were going to look at 10 rings that were all made of gold, they all might be made of the same gold, they all might be the same weight, but I'm going to be more naturally drawn to one ring than I would be to another ring, because shape draws my attention. I notice shape, but I also know inside of me that when it comes right down to it, they're all gold. It's all the same substance, different forms. So the form helps people take notice of our substance. The people will choose some forms over other forms. But when it comes right down to it, whether it's buying rings or sending a communication message, in the end, it is really the substance, what it's made of, that people find the most valuable. So this week, I would like you to focus on that, which is going to actually bring us back to our personal compass and focusing on who I am, why I'm here, and what I want. So remember, this week, don't get so anxious about the words. Instead, if you learn how to create the right molds, just as if you were making pottery on one of the wheels, you can learn those skills. Easy. That's something that we learn just by repetition. What takes a little more time and focus is not casting the mold, but creating the substance that goes into the mold. And I'd like you to really focus on that this week before we speak to difficult people or before we speak in high-risk communication situations. Focus on the substance, who you are, why you're here, what you want, and that will help you find the right mold for that message or the right words, which actually is the form. So, got a lot of work this week. What we're going to do is focus on remembering names. We're going to be using our coping statements. We have some danger phrases and power phrases. We're going to be managing our time better and addressing the time sucker and focusing on our principle of the week. So I really enjoyed being with you this week. I look forward to seeing you next week. Signing off.
This lesson is continued in the next episode, so this is Dan O'Connor. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you on the inside. These free effective communication skills training course videos brought to you by communication expert keynote speaker Dan O'Connor.